Hello, I'm Miss Kalman,
And I'm Miss Stivers.
and today's lesson is Chapter 1, Lesson 6 on Algebra, Variables, and Expressions. To start off to review from class today, we learned that a variable is a letter or symbol that represents a number. Oftentimes, they are written in lowercase letters like X, Y, or any letter you want, or my favorite variable, a lowercase d. The next is the branch of mathematics that involves expressions with variables, and that is algebra. And the third vocabulary word is algebraic expressions. Contain a variable, numbers, and at least one operation. And an example of that is 5 plus x. That the number is a 5, the operation is addition, and the variable is x.
So now we're going to look at different parts of an algebraic expression. So for example, let's write the expression negative 5x plus 17. So when I'm looking at this expression like we did in class, the first thing I'm going to do is break it up. So I'm going to break this up into my terms. And now that I've broken it up into my terms, I'm going to look at the different parts that we have. So the first thing I see is my variable is an x. I'm going to record that here. Then I'm going to look at my coefficient, or the number that goes with the variable. The number I have here is a negative 5. Make sure you keep the sign with with the coefficient. And then I'm going to look for my constant. Because my constant is positive here, I don't need to keep that sign. Mathematicians are sometimes lazy. When it's positive, we don't keep the plus. If that was a negative there, though, I would keep the negative. Then I already did my boxes, the term part, nice and easy. I can put negative 5x, comma, and write my 17 as my second term.
Alrighty. So moving on to our first word problem. And our first word problem is the expression W divided by 30, where W is a person's weight in pounds, is used to find the appropriate number of quarts of blood in a person's body. How many quarts of blood does a 120-pound person have? So when I'm dissecting a word problem, I'm going to focus on the expression that they give us. And I know they defined the variable. W stands for the person's weight, okay? And I need to calculate, they're asking how many quarts. That's the question that they're asking. And they give us the weight of a person. All right, so using the system we learned in class today, WSE, the W part is going to be the algebraic expression they give us, W divided by 30. The substitute part, I'm going to substitute the weight that they give us in the problem for W in the expression. So 120 divided by 30. So now I could do the math, 120 divided by 30, and 30 goes into 120 4 times. And another way to do it, which is a beautiful trick with dividing when you have a 0 both in the numerator and denominator, is you can eliminate those two zeros. And I know 12 divided by 3 is 4. And my answer is 4. And remember, you always need units with word problems. How many quarts? So the answer is 4 quarts.
Okay, now we're going to look at a different type of problem. For this one, we're looking at a car rental company, which charges $19.99 per day and 17 cents per mile to rent a car. We want to write an expression that gives a total cost in dollars to rent a car for D days and M miles. The first thing I notice in my problem is that they're asking me to write an expression. I'm not going to be solving this problem. I'm just going to be writing out an expression that contains the information. So the first thing I see is that I also have two variables, D for days and M for miles. Given those two, I'm going to go back up and look at the problem we have here. So we say it costs $19.99 per day. So if it was one day, it'd be $19.99, but I don't know how many days I'm going on my trip. So when I start to write my expression, I'm going to write $19.99 because that's the cost they gave me per one day. And then I'm going to put my variable, D, for days, because we know that when a coefficient is next to a variable, you're going to be multiplying them together. The next thing I need to put in my problem is the miles I drive. So I'm going to add this to the number of days, and I'm going to put the 17 cents, which they told me in the problem it costs per mile, and then again I'm going to plug in my second variable, which is M. They told me stands for miles. Now I've included all the pieces and I've finished writing out my expression. That's our answer to this problem.
Okay, now we're going to jump back to a review that we did in class today, and we reviewed how to evaluate expressions when they tell us what the variables equal. And you can see that D equals 8, E equals 3, F equals 4, and G equals 1. So in the first example, I have the WSE charts for you. We're going to rewrite the problem. And I know on your note-taking guide, you do not have these problems listed, so make sure you copy those down. So for the W part, it's 6 times F squared. For the substitute, I'm going to do 6, and I'm going to substitute 4 in for F. And remember, we need to put parentheses around that 4, otherwise it looks like 64, and 64 squared is not where we're going with this. And now let's evaluate. 4 squared is 16 times 6. Bring down that 6. Now 16 times 6, I'm going to do some side work for that. 6 times 1 plus 3 is 9, and I get 96 as my answer.
Okay, for the next problem we're working on, we have 4e squared. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is write my expression, 4e to the second. I'm going to go on down and substitute. I see, according to my directions, that e equals 3. So I'm going to write down my 4, put my 3 in parentheses so that it's not a 43. And then I'm going to make sure I don't forget my exponent on that value. Now the next thing I'm going to do, see what I have to do first. According to my PEMDAS, I need to do my exponent. So I'm going to underline this, do my exponent. I know that my problem is now 4 times 9. And that's one that I can evaluate in my head, and I know that my answer will be 36.
All right, and now for the last review problem, it is going to be D squared plus 7. For my substitute line, I'm going to substitute 8 for D plus 7, and now I'm going to evaluate, and 8 squared, 64, plus 7, and my final answer is 71.
Okay, at this time, please feel free to re-watch any parts of the video that you may have a problem with, and once you're all set to go, move on to the KIA and complete your problems on the page.
Good luck. Good luck.